Welcome back to The Quiet Drift. If you enjoy Willow's story, don't forget to subscribe to The Quiet Drift. You'll get a notification whenever a new episode is released.
June 6th, 2026.
The late afternoon sun, a low, burnished coin, begins its slow descent toward the western ridge of the headland, casting long, liquid shadows across the surface of the cove. You watch as the light, thick and golden, spills over the dark, ancient sentinels of the forest, painting the upper branches of fir and cedar with a momentary brilliance before dipping below the treeline. On the water, the golden light shimmers, breaking into 1,000 fractured fragments of amber and ochre that dance and ripple with the gentle movement of the tide. Each tiny wave becomes a fleeting mirror, catching the sun's last intense warmth and holding it for an instant before releasing it back into the cool, shadowed depths. The Myra, moored steadfastly at the private dock, seems to absorb this rich light, her weathered wooden deck glowing with a soft, inviting warmth. The varnished teak of her cabin house catches the sun, reflecting a deep, honeyed hue that speaks of countless days spent under the same sky, in the same quiet embrace of the cove. You can almost feel the sun's heat radiating from the wood, a gentle warmth that permeates the very air around the boat. A faint breeze, carrying the clean, sharp scent of pine needles warmed by the sun and the briny tang of the low tide, stirs the air, rustling the leaves in the canopy above and carrying the distant, rhythmic sigh of the ocean through the narrow channel. The rigging of the Myra, taut and slender, hums a soft, almost imperceptible melody as the breeze threads its way through the lines. It's a sound that has become as familiar and comforting as your own heartbeat, a gentle counterpoint to the quiet lapping of water against the hull. Each tiny creak and whisper from the boat is a lullaby, a testament to her constant presence and the enduring rhythm of this sheltered world. You notice the way the golden light catches the fine spray of salt mist on the lines, turning each strand into a delicate, luminous thread against the deepening blue of the sky. Chester, ever attuned to the sun's passage, has found his preferred spot on the foredeck. He is curled into a tight, warm ball, his red-orange fur blazing like a small, contented flame in the direct path of the sun's dwindling rays. A white patch on his throat, like a small, impeccably tied cravat, gleams with a soft luminescence. His eyes are closed, but the slight twitch of his whiskers suggests he is not entirely asleep, merely basking in the profound peace of the moment. You watch the slow, even rise and fall of his small chest, the subtle ripple of his fur as a breath escapes him. He is a creature perfectly at home, perfectly at peace, a small, vibrant punctuation mark in the quiet canvas of the afternoon. Further out on the dark, rugged rocks that guard the channel leading to the open sea, a solitary cormorant stands sentinel. Its silhouette is stark and angular against the softening sky, its wings half spread to catch the last warmth, a silent, watchful presence. You can almost feel the ancient stillness of its gaze, observing the ebb and flow of the tide, the slow, deliberate turning of the world. Its dark feathers seem to absorb the last vestiges of light, turning it into a deeper, richer black, a living sculpture of patience and solitude. The air itself feels thick with the mingled scents of the forest, and the sea, the resinous tang of sap, the damp earth beneath the tall trees, the iodine sharpness of seaweed clinging to wet rocks, all woven together into a tapestry of wild, untamed fragrance. You take a slow, deep breath, letting the cool, clean air fill your lungs, feeling the subtle shift in temperature as the sun begins its final arc towards the horizon. The warmth on your skin, the gentle sway of the dock beneath your feet, the distant cry of a gull circling high above, all these sensations merge into a singular feeling of belonging. This is a place where time seems to slow, where the hurried pace of the world outside melts away, leaving only the quiet, insistent rhythm of nature. It's a place that asks for nothing but presence, a gentle invitation to simply be asterisk. Willow, who has been quietly mending a tear in the Myra's foresail, pauses in her work, her hands still holding the sturdy needle and waxed thread. The sailcloth, folded neatly on the dock beside her, is a soft, creamy white against the weathered gray of the wood, its texture rough and honest beneath her fingertips. She had been focused on the rhythmic push and pull of the needle, the careful mending of the strong canvas, but the deepening light has drawn her gaze upwards, out towards the cove. Her eyes, the color of moss after rain, are wide and reflective, taking in the beauty of the fading day. She had spent the morning walking the forest path, the one that wound its way up the headland towards Walter's cottage. The ground had been soft and yielding under her boots, a deep carpet of pine needles and damp earth. The air beneath the canopy was cool and still, scented with the rich, fungal aroma of the forest floor. She had paused often, listening to the intricate symphony of bird calls, watching the shafts of light pierce through the dense foliage, illuminating dust motes dancing in the stillness. It was on one of these pauses that she had found a small, perfectly formed raven's feather, iridescent black, lying on a moss-covered log. She had picked it up, feeling its lightness, its surprising strength, and tucked it carefully into the pocket of her work trousers, a small, silent treasure. She had intended to ask Walter about the light she'd seen on the island the night before, the fleeting, almost imperceptible flicker that had caught her eye as she was preparing for sleep. It had been there, a soft, uncertain glow, and then as quickly as it appeared, it was gone, leaving only the deep, impenetrable darkness of the island's silhouette. It wasn't an alarming sight, merely a curious one, the kind of small, unexplained detail that settles gently into the mind just before sleep. But when she reached Walter's cottage, the faint scent of wood smoke curling from his chimney, she found the path leading to his front door empty. His vegetable garden, neatly tended, was quiet, and the small wooden bird feeder hanging from an ancient apple tree swayed gently in the breeze, but no one was home. She had waited for a while, sitting on the weathered stone bench by his door, listening to the rustle of the wind through the tall grass, but Walter was not there. A quiet sense of disappointment had settled upon her, not a heavy one, but a gentle sigh of unanswered curiosity. She had left a small bundle of fresh lavender, gathered from the pot on her own dock, tied with a length of twine on his doorstep, a silent offering of friendship. Now, as the last of the sun's direct light slips behind the ridge, leaving only a radiant glow in the sky, she still holds the question in her mind, a soft, persistent whisper. The island, a dark, tree-covered mass across the cove, seems to hold its secrets close, its contours softening into the deepening twilight. She carefully lays her needle and thread beside the sail, her hands moving with a practiced slowness. The air is growing cooler now, the warmth on the deck fading as the shadows lengthen. She stretches, feeling the pleasant ache in her shoulders from the morning's walk and the afternoon's careful mending. Her gaze drifts again to the island, its dark shape becoming more defined against the softening palette of the sky. Was it simply a trick of the light, she wonders, a reflection from some distant, unseen source? Or was there something else, something she hadn't yet understood about the island, about this cove, about the quiet life she had built here? The memory of Walter's quiet references to whoever was here before surfaces in her mind, a vague, intriguing echo. He had never elaborated, always letting the words hang in the air, a wisp of a suggestion, a hint of a history she was only beginning to uncover. It added another layer to the island's quiet mystery, a gentle suggestion that this place held more stories than she yet knew. The thought is not unsettling, but rather a quiet invitation to observe, to listen, to wonder. She rises from the dock, gathering the sailcloth with careful, deliberate movements. The wood of the dock feels cool beneath her palms now, the last of the day's heat dissolving into the evening air. Chester, sensing her movement, uncurls himself with a languid stretch, his small body a picture of feline grace. He yawns, a tiny pink cavern in his orange face, then blinks slowly, his eyes now the color of warm amber in the fading light. He rubs against her leg, a soft, purring vibration against her trousers, a silent request for attention. Willow bends down, stroking his soft fur, feeling the deep rumble of his purr vibrating through her fingertips. "Hello, old friend," she murmurs, her voice a low, gentle sound in the gathering quiet. Chester arches into her touch, his tail held high, a small, vibrant punctuation mark in the deepening twilight. He is a comforting, constant presence, a silent companion in this quiet world. She carries the folded sail onto the Myra, stepping carefully across the small gap between the dock and the boat. The cabin smells faintly of cedar and beeswax, a familiar, comforting scent. Inside, the oil lamps, still unlit, stand ready on their brass hooks, waiting for the evening's illumination. The narrow sleeping berth in the bow, covered with a thick woolen blanket, beckons with the promise of rest. The small cast-iron wood stove, cold now, holds the memory of past fires, of warmth and comfort on chillier evenings. She places the sail carefully on the small folding table, intending to return to her mending tomorrow. The light inside the cabin is growing dim, filled with the soft, diffused glow of twilight filtering through the small portholes. It's a gentle, unhurried transition from day to night, a deepening of shadows rather than an abrupt shift. The water laps gently against the hull, a soft, rhythmic caress that has been the soundtrack to her life here for 2 years. Willow moves to the small propane galley, her movements economical and practiced. She lifts the lid of a ceramic pot, revealing the remains of a simple stew from lunch, its aroma still warm and inviting. A small portion will be enough for her evening meal. She lights the burner with a quiet click, the small flame a sudden, bright jewel in the growing gloom. The gentle hiss of the propane is a familiar sound, a small, domestic comfort. As the stew slowly warms, she takes out a ceramic plate with small blue flowers painted on its rim, a set she had found in a dusty shop in the village, charmed by their quiet simplicity. She sets it on the small folding table. Chester, ever hopeful, watches her with keen interest from his perch on the settee, his tail twitching slightly. She catches his eye, a small smile playing on her lips. "Not for you, my friend," she whispers, though she knows he will receive a small portion of salmon when she finishes her own meal. The light outside is now a soft, bruised purple, the stars beginning to prick through the deepening blue of the sky. The cormorant on the rocks is a mere shadow now, blending into the larger darkness. The air carries a new coolness, a hint of the night to come. She finds herself looking towards the island again, its silhouette now almost entirely absorbed by the encroaching darkness, save for the faintest, almost imperceptible shimmer along its highest ridge, a last breath of reflected light from the setting moon that is just beginning to rise unseen behind the eastern headland. The question of the light from last night lingers, a gentle, insistent whisper in her mind. She decides she will make a point of finding Walter tomorrow, early in the morning, before he leaves his cottage for whatever quiet errands occupy his days. This time she will not leave without asking him. The quiet mystery of the island and the soft, fleeting light she had seen feels like a gentle thread, waiting to be followed. The late afternoon light, mellow and diffused through the lingering haze, falls across the deck of the Myra. You watch as Willow's hands, agile and accustomed to the rhythms of life aboard, move with a quiet purpose. There is no rush in her actions, no hurried gestures, only a steady, deliberate grace that mirrors the stillness of the cove. She begins by gathering a tangle of mooring lines from the foredeck, their hemp fibers softened by salt and sun. Each rope is passed through her fingers, feeling for any stray splinters or signs of fraying. The task is a familiar one, a simple act of care that ensures the Myra remains secure, even against the most unexpected squalls. You notice the way her thumbs press gently into the braids, smoothing them, coaxing them into neat coils. The friction of the fibers against her skin creates a faint, dry whisper in the quiet air, a sound almost swallowed by the larger silence of the cove. As she works, a subtle scent of salt and sun-baked wood rises from the ropes, mingling with the sweeter, earthier fragrance of the forest across the water. Chester, curled in a patch of warmth on the foredeck, lifts his head, his ears twitching almost imperceptibly, as if registering the same subtle shifts in the air. His eyes, half-lidded, follow the slow, rhythmic movements of Willow's hands, a silent, furry sentinel overseeing her gentle labors. One coil finished, she lays it carefully on the deck, then begins on another, her movements unvarying, a quiet meditation in motion. You observe the play of light on the weathered wood of the deck, the grain of the planks standing out in sharp relief, almost like a topographical map of tiny valleys and ridges. Each imperfection, each faint scratch or weathered patch, tells a silent story of sun and rain, of countless tides in the slow passage of time. From the ropes, Willow moves to a small canvas sailbag, where she keeps an assortment of needles and waxed twine. A small tear, no bigger than your thumbnail, has appeared near the luff of the jib, a tiny wound that, if left unattended, could grow into something larger and more significant. She retrieves the jib from its bag, unfolding it with careful hands. The canvas is stiff, almost brittle from sun and exposure, and as it unfurls, it releases a faint, dusty scent, like old linen stored in a sea chest. She threads a sturdy needle with the waxed twine, the fine point glinting in the diffused light. Her fingers, nimble and practiced, guide the twine through the canvas, creating small, even stitches. Each stitch is pulled taut, securing the tear, making the fabric whole again. It's a precise, exacting task, requiring focus and a steady hand. You can almost feel the texture of the canvas beneath her fingers, the coarse weave, the subtle resistance of the material as the needle pierces it. The rhythmic asterisk prick-pull-prick asterisk of the needle and thread is the only sound, a small, insistent counterpoint to the distant call of a gull circling high above the channel. The sun dips a little lower, casting longer shadows from the mast and rigging across the deck. A cool breath of air stirs from the forest, carrying with it the scent of pine needles and damp earth. Willow pauses, stretching her back gently, a quiet sigh escaping her lips. She glances towards the forested headland, then out to the narrow channel, her gaze lingering for a moment on the distant, hazy horizon where the open sea lies. With the jib mended and carefully refolded, she turns her attention to the small propane galley below deck. The familiar scent of a simmering stew, slow-cooked over the gentle flame, begins to waft upwards through the companionway hatch. It's a simple meal, hearty and comforting. Root vegetables from the village market, perhaps a few foraged mushrooms, and herbs from her own small pots on the dock. You watch as she descends the 3 steps into the cabin, the light within softening to a warm, inviting glow from the brass oil lamp hanging over the galley. The air below deck is rich with the aroma of the stew, a welcoming warmth emanating from the small cast iron wood stove, which hums with a low, contented whisper. Though it is summer, the evenings can still carry a chill, and the stove offers a steady, comforting heat. She stirs the stew with a wooden spoon, the rich broth swirling around the tender vegetables. The gentle clatter of ceramic dishes with their small blue flowers, as she sets them on the folding table, is a soft punctuation mark in the quiet. A small, almost unconscious hum escapes her lips as she moves, a wordless melody that speaks of contentment. Emerging from the cabin, a steaming mug of herbal tea in her hands, Willow moves to the clay pots on the dock. The lavender and rosemary, vibrant and fragrant in their terracotta homes, thrive under her care. She retrieves a small, copper watering can from beside the cabin door, its surface gleaming softly in the fading light. As she pours water into the pots, the earthy scent of damp soil rises, mingling with the herbal notes of the plants. The water soaks quickly into the parched earth, a small offering to the living things that share her space. As she waters the rosemary, she notices something new, something that, despite having seen it 100 times, strikes her differently today. Etched into the weathered wood of the dock plank, just beside the rosemary pot, is a small, almost imperceptible spiral. It's no more than an inch across, barely visible unless you look for it, but today it catches your eye. You've walked these planks countless times, seen the myriad imperfections and marks left by time and tide, but this tiny spiral seems to emerge from the wood itself, a silent glyph. It's not a carved mark, not deeply incised, but more like a natural pattern in the grain, or perhaps a faint impression left by something heavy, swirled into the wood in a moment of unconscious grace. It reminds you of the delicate curl of a fern frond, or the spiraling shell of a tiny sea creature. It's a detail so small, so unassuming, that it's easy to overlook, yet today it holds a quiet fascination, a gentle mystery tucked into the familiar. Willow's fingers lightly trace the curve of the spiral, a thoughtful expression on her face. Her touch is feather-light, as if she fears disturbing its quiet presence. She doesn't ponder it aloud, but a flicker of something, recognition, perhaps, or a quiet wonder, passes through her eyes. Was it always there, or has it only just become visible, like a truth slowly revealing itself? She doesn't know, and for now, the simple act of noticing is enough. Chester, who has followed her to the dock, rubs against her leg, a soft purr rumbling in his chest. He stretches, arching his back, then settles at her feet, his gaze fixed on the water, watching the slow, rhythmic dance of the small waves against the hull. The sounds are hushed now, the gentle lapping of water, the distant, mournful cry of an oyster catcher, the soft sigh of the wind in the rigging. Willow sips her tea, the warmth of the ceramic mug seeping into her hands. The air is growing cooler, carrying with it the undeniable scent of the approaching evening. The forest across the cove has deepened to a rich, velvety green, and the surface of the water reflects the muted hues of the sky, a canvas of soft grays and blues. She watches a single leaf, released from a branch high on the headland, spiral slowly downward, catching the last golden remnants of the sun before settling gently onto the still surface of the cove. It floats there for a moment, a tiny, fragile boat on an immense, glassy sea, before a gentle ripple from the Myra's hull carries it slowly away. The day has been filled with these small, unhurried actions, mending, coiling, preparing, tending. Each task completed with a quiet focus, a reverence for the materials and the moments. There has been no hurry, no external pressure, only the steady rhythm of life in the cove. These are the moments that build a life, brick by invisible brick, each detail contributing to the quiet tapestry of her days. As the light continues to fade, painting the western sky in hues of rose and lavender, Willow draws her shawl tighter around her shoulders. The air is now cool, carrying the sharp, clean scent of the sea mingled with the sweet, damp earth of the forest. The silence deepens, broken only by the natural sounds of the world settling into evening. She thinks of the island, shrouded in its ancient trees, and the faint, fleeting light she saw there last night. The memory is not urgent, but it is there, a quiet question held in the back of her mind. Tomorrow she will ask Walter about it, about the island and its hidden histories. For now, the small spiral on the dock, the mended sail, the simmering stew, and the steady breath of the cove are enough to fill the present moment, holding her in their gentle embrace. You feel the shift in the air, a subtle softening as the day begins its slow release into evening. The sun, a radiant disk suspended over the distant horizon, now dips a fraction lower, casting long, wavering shadows from the tall firs that fringe the cove. You find yourself drawn from the warmth of the cabin, stepping onto the weathered planks of the dock, the wood still holding a faint echo of the day's heat beneath your bare feet. A gentle breeze carrying the scent of salt and pine stirs the surface of the water, tracing ripples of liquid gold that spread outward from the Myra's hull. The air, which had been bright and clear, now begins to deepen, taking on the rich, honeyed hues of late afternoon. You watch as the light, no longer direct and sharp, diffuses through the upper branches of the trees, painting their needles with a luminous, almost ethereal glow. The sky, a vast canvas above you, is beginning its transformation. Where moments before it was a pale, washed-out blue, it now starts to blush, a faint blush of apricot spreading from the western edge. This is a time of quiet magic in the cove, when the world seems to pause, holding its breath before the full descent of night. You lean against the smooth, sun-warmed pilings of the dock, feeling the slight sway of the Myra beneath your feet, a gentle rhythm that mirrors the slowing beat of your own heart. The water, so clear and bright earlier, now reflects the sky's changing moods, turning from a sparkling sapphire to a deep, molten gold as the sun sinks further. Each ripple that dances across the surface is edged with fire, catching the light and releasing it in 1,000 fleeting sparks. The air cools imperceptibly, a silent signal that the day is indeed drawing to a close. You can feel it on your skin, a whisper of coolness that promises the crispness of evening. The distant call of a gull, high overhead, seems to carry further now, its cry echoing across the quiet expanse of the cove. You close your eyes for a moment, simply absorbing the sounds, the soft lap of water against the Myra's hull, the barely audible creak of the lines in the gentle breeze, the rustle of leaves in the forest beyond the headland. When you open them again, the apricot blush in the sky has deepened, bleeding into warmer tones of soft orange. The clouds, wispy and scattered, are now edged with a brilliant, fiery rim, like embers glowing against velvet. The sun continues its slow descent, a majestic, unhurried movement towards the horizon. You watch it shrink, a perfect, glowing orb, as it kisses the distant line where sea meets sky. For a few exquisite moments, the entire world seems to be awash in this profound, vibrant orange, a color so rich and pure it feels as though you could taste it. Then, as if a painter has dipped their brush in a deeper pigment, the orange begins to transition. A soft, rosy pink starts to bloom at the edges, spreading upwards and inwards, mingling with the last vestiges of gold. The water below responds in kind, transforming into a vast, shimmering expanse of rose and copper, reflecting the fiery spectacle above. The air, though still holding the warmth of the day, now has a distinct coolness, a refreshing crispness that invigorates as it settles. You shift your weight, drawing a slow, deep breath, filling your lungs with the clean, salt-laced air. The fragrances of the cove seem to intensify, as the light fades the earthy scent of damp soil from the forest, the briny tang of seaweed exposed at low tide, the subtle perfume of the lavender and rosemary in the pots on the dock. The transition from orange to pink is a gradual, seamless one, each hue melting into the next with a breathtaking grace. You notice the way the light catches the upper reaches of the ancient firs, transforming their dark needles into a shimmering, almost purple-black silhouette against the vibrant sky. The island, which had been a solid mass of green and gray, now seems to soften, its edges blurred by the changing light, taking on a mysterious, almost mythical quality. As the sun finally slips below the horizon, a final, brilliant flash of emerald green marks its departure. Then, swiftly, the most intense colors begin to fade, leaving behind a sky of tender, delicate pinks and purples. It is a moment of profound beauty, a silent symphony of light that plays out each evening, never precisely the same, always uniquely enchanting. The cooling air now carries a clearer chill, prompting you to pull your shawl a little tighter around your shoulders. You can feel the dew beginning to settle on the dock planks, a faint dampness that signals the full arrival of night. The sounds of the cove grow sharper, clearer in the deepening quiet. The distant cry of an owl from the forest, the rhythmic shush of the waves against the shore, the gentle thrum of the Myra's rigging as the breeze picks up slightly. The sky continues its evolution, the pinks slowly dissolving into shades of lavender, and then finally into the deep, velvety blue of twilight. The stars, which had been patiently waiting, begin to prickle through the darkening canvas. You search for the familiar constellations, tracing their patterns with your eyes, feeling the vastness of the universe above you. The first star you see, bright and unwavering, seems to hang directly above the narrow channel that leads to the open sea. It is a beacon, a tiny pinprick of light in the vast, expanding darkness. You watch it, feeling a quiet sense of connection to something ancient and enduring. The blue deepens, growing richer and more profound with each passing minute, until the last vestiges of pink and purple are swallowed by the encroaching night. The world around you now takes on a muted, almost monochromatic palette, shades of gray and deep indigo defining the landscape. The trees become towering, silent sentinels, their forms indistinct against the sky. The water, once a mirror of the fiery sunset, is now a dark, unfathomable expanse, reflecting only the nascent twinkle of the first stars. You stand there for a long time, simply observing the slow, inevitable creep of darkness. The temperature drops further, the air growing distinctly cool, carrying with it the dampness of the approaching night. The scents of the forest intensify, a richer, earthier aroma mingling with the ever-present salt. The Myra, your home, seems to settle into the water, her dark hull almost disappearing against the deeper shadows. The faint glow from the oil lamp Willow has lit within the cabin casts a warm, inviting square of light onto the dock, a soft counterpoint to the growing darkness outside. The quiet of the cove deepens, a profound, enveloping stillness that is broken only by the natural sounds of the night. You listen to the gentle lapping of the water, the whisper of the breeze through the pine needles, the distant hoot of an owl. These sounds, far from being unsettling, are a soothing balm, a reminder of the world's ancient rhythms. As the last hints of twilight disappear, the sky becomes a vast, inky expanse, studded with an ever-increasing multitude of stars. The air is cool and clean, carrying the crisp scent of the ocean and the deep, earthy smell of the forest. The world has narrowed, the broad expanse of the day giving way to the intimate embrace of the night. You remain on the dock for a few more moments, enveloped in the quietude, watching the first constellations emerge with increasing clarity. The sense of solitude is not loneliness, but a deep, peaceful communion with the natural world. The quiet drift of the Myra, the gentle murmur of the water, the vastness of the starlit sky, all combine to create a profound sense of peace. The day has receded, making way for the mysteries and quiet beauty of the night, leaving you with a sense of wonder and a quiet anticipation of what the morning light might reveal. The air now holds a distinct chill, the kind that makes you want to draw inward, towards warmth and shelter. You can feel the dampness of the night beginning to settle on your skin, a fine mist that clings to the surfaces of the dock. The stars above are now countless, a glittering tapestry woven across the black velvet of the sky, each one a distant, silent beacon. The island, a dark silhouette now against the faint sheen of the horizon, holds its secrets in the deepening shadows, its presence a quiet question in the vast expanse of the night. The last sliver of the sun dips below the western horizon, and the cove begins to deepen into shades of lavender and muted slate. You watch the final, lingering light drain from the sky, a soft sigh of color fading into the deepening twilight. The air cools with a gentle insistence, carrying the faint, earthy scent of damp forest floor mingled with the sharp tang of salt. A single gull calls, a lonely, echoing cry, before settling into the stillness that now embraces the water. Inside the Myra, the cabin is already gathering shadows, the rich teak turning to a dusky umber. You reach for the oil lamp, its polished brass cool beneath your fingers. With a practiced movement, you lift the glass chimney, trim the wick with a small, precise snip of the scissors, and strike a match. The flame catches, a small, vibrant orange blossom, then steadies, casting its warm, unwavering light across the narrow space. The shadows which had been asserting their presence now retreat, softening into the corners, dancing gently with the subtle sway of the boat. The lamp, hanging from its hook near the galley, bathes the cabin in an amber glow. The varnished teak walls seem to come alive, their grain deepening, revealing an inner warmth. You trace the patterns with your eyes, the smooth, aged wood absorbing and reflecting the light in a way that feels both ancient and comforting. Every surface takes on a richer hue, the small space transforming from a shadowy retreat into a luminous, intimate haven. The gleam of copper pots, suspended above the tiny propane stove, catches your eye. They shimmer with a muted, burnished glow, reflecting tiny, distorted versions of the lamp's flame. The ceramic dishes with their delicate blue flowers, stacked neatly in a small rack, seem to bloom in the soft light, their intricate patterns more pronounced. The spines of the books on the built-in shelves along the hull appear richer, the titles hinting at countless worlds held within their pages. A soft click of the latch, and you open the small cast iron wood stove. A few embers from this afternoon's fire still glow faintly, like sleepy eyes in the darkness. You feed it a small piece of kindling, then a larger, seasoned log from the basket beside it. The wood catches quickly, a gentle crackle beginning to fill the air, a soft counterpoint to the distant lapping of water against the hull. The heat begins to radiate almost immediately, a welcome warmth against the evening chill. Chester, who had been curled in a tight ball on the narrow sleeping berth in the bow, now stretches languidly, a slow, deliberate unfolding of orange fur. He blinks at the lamplight, his eyes like green glass marbles, then hops down with a soft thud. He weaves around your legs, a silent, furry shadow, before settling himself near the stove, his tail twitching occasionally in contentment. The rhythmic purr that begins to emanate from him is a low, vibrating hum, a sound that has become as essential to the Myra's quiet evenings as the creak of the hull or the whisper of the wind in the rigging. You prepare a simple supper, a routine so ingrained it requires little thought. From a hook, you take down a small copper kettle, filling it with fresh water from the pump and placing it on the top of the wood stove to heat for tea. The scent of wood smoke, now mingled with the faint, comforting aroma of brewing tea, begins to fill the air. You retrieve a loaf of fresh, crusty bread from a linen cloth in the galley and a bowl of thick, hearty lentil stew, warmed gently over the propane burner. You move through the small space with an instinctive grace, every action precise and economical. Your hands know where everything is, even in the dim light, reaching for a mug, a spoon, a small wooden plate without hesitation. It is a dance you have performed countless times, a quiet ballet of domesticity within the confines of the Myra. The small folding table, usually stowed, is now unfolded, its polished surface reflecting the lamplight. Before you begin to eat, you pause, bowing your head for a moment. A silent prayer of thanks, a quiet acknowledgement of the day's gifts, the shelter of the Myra, the food, the warmth, the simple peace that surrounds you. It is a small, private ritual, a moment of stillness before the quiet communion of the evening meal. As you eat, the only sounds are the gentle lapping of water, the occasional creak of the boat, the soft crackle of the fire, and Chester's rhythmic purr. The stew is warm and savory, the bread a perfect accompaniment. You sip your tea, the hot ceramic mug a comfort in your hands. The world outside, the vast, dark expanse of the cove and the sea beyond, feels miles away, held at bay by the thin wooden walls of the Myra and the warm glow of the lamp. Your gaze drifts across the familiar interior, settling on the bookshelves built into the hull. The titles are a mix of practical guides to sailing and navigation, worn poetry collections, and novels of adventure and discovery. Your finger traces the spine of a book, a volume of sea shanties, its pages yellowed with age. You consider taking it down, perhaps singing quietly to yourself, but the silence of the evening holds its own particular melody. Instead, your eyes land on a small, unassuming tin tucked away on a lower shelf, almost hidden behind a larger volume. It's an old tin, dulled with age, its painted design faded to an indistinct pattern. You've seen it countless times, of course. It was there when you first moved aboard, nestled in that very spot. You've never opened it. A faint curiosity, a whisper of a question, stirs within you. You had always assumed it held something mundane, spare parts, perhaps, or old buttons. But tonight, in the soft, contemplative light of the lamp, it seems to call to you with a different sort of quiet insistence. It feels as though it holds a secret, a small, forgotten piece of the Myra's past, or perhaps the past of whoever lived here before you. You reach for it, your fingers brushing against the cool, smooth metal. It feels heavier than you might expect, a solid weight in your hand. The lid is not latched, simply fitted snugly. You turn it over, examining the bottom, where a faint, almost invisible scratch marks a single initial, an elegant cursive E. You had never noticed that before. The letters Willow has never opened, you recall. You've always known they were there, a silent presence under the berth, but this tin is different. This tin was just asterisk their asterisk. A soft sigh escapes you. The tin is small, perhaps 6 inches long, 3 inches wide, and an inch deep. It sits in your palm, a simple object, yet imbued with a sudden, quiet significance. What could be inside? A collection of pressed flowers, old coins, a small, forgotten letter. The possibilities, though not dramatic, are endless, each one a tiny thread leading back into the Myra's unwritten history. You consider opening it, just for a moment, to satisfy this small, insistent curiosity. Your thumb hovers over the lid, ready to lift it, to glimpse whatever small, silent story it holds. But then a subtle resistance, a quiet reluctance. Some things, you think, are perhaps best left undisturbed, at least for now. Or perhaps the moment isn't quite right. The evening feels too peaceful, too perfectly balanced in its quiet harmony, to introduce an unknown element. You place the tin back on the shelf, carefully tucking it behind the book, just as it was. The faint E on its base seems to recede into the shadows, a tiny, intriguing mark left on the edge of your perception. The mystery of it is gentle, a soft question mark in the quietude of the cabin. It's not an urgent query, but rather a quiet, persistent thought that will likely return to you. The scent of the wood smoke and brewing tea continues to fill the air, comforting and familiar. Chester has fallen into a deeper sleep, his purr a low rumble now, a steady vibration against the floorboards. The sounds of the water outside remain a soothing rhythm, a timeless lullaby. The light from the oil lamp continues to cast its amber glow, painting the cabin in warm, inviting hues. The small wooden sailboat, a vessel that has carried you to this quiet cove, now holds you safe within its embrace. The world outside, with its whispers of the sea and the rustling of the forest, feels distant, yet connected. You finish your tea, the last drops warm on your tongue. The question of the tin and the faint E on its base lingers at the edges of your thoughts, a soft, unanswered note in the evening symphony. It is a quiet discovery, a gentle prodding from the past, reminding you that even in this tranquil, unchanging world, there are always new details to notice, new layers to uncover. The fire in the stove has settled into a deep, steady glow, its heat permeating the cabin. The soft light, the gentle rocking of the Myra, the rhythmic breathing of Chester all conspire to create a profound sense of peace. You feel a quiet contentment settle over you, a deep, abiding gratitude for this solitary existence, for the simple rhythms of life in the cove. You wonder about the stories that tin might hold, the hands that might have held it before you. Who was E? What did they keep in this small, unassuming box? The questions are not pressing, not demanding answers. They are merely soft suggestions, threads of a past life woven into the fabric of the Myra, a gentle counterpoint to your own quiet present. The evening continues to deepen, the darkness outside now absolute, save for the faint glow of the distant stars beginning to pepper the sky. Inside, the oil lamp casts its steady circle of light, a beacon of warmth and safety. You decide that tomorrow, perhaps, you might ask Walter if he knows anything about the previous occupants of the Myra, or if he recognizes the initial E. It's a small thought, a gentle plan for the morning, a quiet thread to carry into the stillness of the night. The faint glow of the oil lamp inside the Myra spills a warm, trembling rectangle onto the dark water of the cove, a small beacon against the vast, encompassing night. You watch as the light stretches and shimmers, a living thing pulled by the gentle currents that whisper past the hull. Beyond this small pool of illumination, the world has dissolved into shades of deep indigo and velvet black. The sky above is a canvas dusted with countless pinpricks of light, each star a tiny, distant world reflected perfectly on the water's still surface. It's as if the Myra floats not on the sea, but suspended between two heavens, one above and one below, an endless expanse of quiet wonder. You feel the slight, rhythmic sway of the boat beneath you, a gentle cradle that has become as familiar as your own breath. The air, though cooling with the advancing night, still carries the lingering warmth of the day's sun, mingled with the crisp, clean scent of salt and the damp earthiness of the surrounding forest. A soft breeze, barely perceptible, carries the whisper of unseen leaves on the headland, a rustle that is more felt than heard. It's a sound that speaks of vast, ancient trees, standing silent sentinels over this quiet corner of the world. From within the cozy confines of the cabin, the sounds of the outside world filter in, softened and muted, each a familiar note in the nightly symphony of the cove. You hear the gentle creak of the Myra's timbers, a slow, deliberate conversation between wood and water, speaking of years of movement and stillness. The rhythmic lap of the water against the hull is a constant, hypnotic pulse, a lullaby that has lulled you to sleep countless nights. It's a sound that seems to draw the very essence of the ocean into your berth, a reminder of the immense, untamed beauty that lies just beyond the narrow channel. You notice the way the air, already cool, seems to grow heavier, a subtle shift that signals the arrival of the fog. It begins as a faint mist, a ghostly veil that starts to gather at the edges of the cove, clinging to the dark shapes of the trees on the far shore. Slowly, imperceptibly, it begins to drift inward, a soft, silent invasion that will soon enfold the Myra in its soft, damp embrace. You imagine it creeping through the channel, a slow-moving cloud rolling in from the open sea, bringing with it a profound sense of isolation and peace. A distant hoot, low and resonant, echoes from the depths of the forest, the call of an owl hunting in the moonless night. It's a sound that is both wild and comforting, a reminder of the vibrant life that thrives unseen in the darkness. The wind, which had been a gentle whisper, picks up slightly, finding its voice in the rigging. A soft, melodic hum begins, a delicate song woven by the unseen currents of air playing across the lines and stays. It's a sound that is uniquely boat-like, a gentle lament that speaks of sails and distant journeys, of the vast, open ocean that waits just beyond the cove. You decide to step out onto the deck for a moment, to fully immerse yourself in the quiet grandeur of the night. Pushing open the companionway hatch, the cool air washes over your face, refreshing and invigorating. You step onto the slightly rocking deck, the familiar planks cool beneath your bare feet. The Myra's small foredeck is now a stage set for the night, the varnished wood gleaming faintly under the starlight. Chester, who had been curled in a tight ball by the stove, stretches languidly, then follows you out, a silent orange shadow. He settles himself on the warm patch of wood near the mast, his eyes, like twin amber embers, reflecting the distant stars. You lean against the smooth, cool wood of the cabin, gazing out at the cove. The island, which had been a clear, dark shape during the day, is now a deeper, more mysterious silhouette against the slightly lighter horizon. It looms, a silent, watchful presence, its secrets held close in the enveloping darkness. Tonight, there is no flicker of light, no fleeting glow to catch your eye. It is simply a dark mass, an intriguing enigma that adds to the quiet wonder of this place. The reflections of the stars on the water are more numerous now, a dazzling, scattered tapestry of light that seems to pulse with a hidden life. Each ripple on the surface distorts and reshapes them, creating ever-changing patterns of light and shadow. You watch, mesmerized, as the Myra's own reflection dances in the water, a faint, ethereal image of your home, tethered to this peaceful harbor. A deep sense of contentment settles over you, a quiet warmth that fills your chest. It's a feeling that has grown steadily since you arrived in this cove, 2 years ago, a gentle unfolding of peace and belonging. You remember the day you first sailed the Myra into this sheltered haven, the way the forest seemed to open its arms to welcome you, the profound sense of rightness that settled over you even then. This life, lived simply and slowly, tethered to the rhythm of the tides and the light of the sun and moon, has become everything you never knew you needed. There is a profound gratitude that wells up within you, a silent prayer of thanks for this quiet existence. You think of the journey that brought you here, the miles of open ocean, the solitude, the endless horizon. You remember the feeling of the wind on your face, the salt spray, the vastness of the sea under a sky full of stars. And then the discovery of this cove, a perfect hidden gem where time seems to slow and the world outside fades into a distant memory. You realize with a quiet certainty that you chose this life. You could have sailed on, continued your journey south, or turned back towards the familiar. But something in this cove, in the stillness of the forest, in the quiet presence of Walter, spoke to a part of you that had long been yearning for a place to simply be asterisk. Here there are no demands, no expectations, only the gentle cadence of daily life, the simple tasks of maintaining the Myra, the quiet joy of observation, and the profound connection to the natural world. It's a life defined by small, unhurried actions, the warming of the fire, the brewing of tea, the gentle rocking of the boat, the rhythmic pull of the oars as you row to the island. Each moment is savored, each sound, each scent, each shift of light and shadow is noticed and appreciated. This existence, stripped of complexity, has allowed a deeper part of you to emerge, a quieter, more reflective self. You feel a quiet wonder at the simple beauty of it all, the way the moonlight, now beginning to peek through the slowly gathering fog, casts silver streaks across the water. The deep, dark silhouettes of the ancient trees on the headland, their branches reaching like gnarled fingers towards the sky, the enduring presence of the Myra, your steadfast home, holding you safe in its wooden embrace. It's a feeling that resonates deep within your bones, a sense of being utterly present, utterly at peace. There's no longing for another place, no yearning for a different path. Only a deep, abiding contentment with this moment, this breath, this quiet night in the cove. The mysteries that linger, the faint name on the hull, the rolled chart, the unopened letters, the fleeting light on the island, are not burdens, but gentle threads of curiosity that weave themselves into the fabric of your days, adding a subtle richness to the tapestry of your life here. They are not questions that demand urgent answers, but rather quiet invitations to look a little closer, to listen a little more deeply, to simply be open to the gentle unfolding of the world around you. The fog, now thicker, begins to obscure the farther shore, softening the hard edges of the landscape. The stars, once so numerous, start to dim, their brilliant points diffused by the gathering mist. The air grows cooler still, carrying with it the dampness of the ocean, a gentle caress on your skin. You can almost feel the fog tendrils reaching out, embracing the Myra, wrapping the cove in a soft, sound-dampening blanket. The world outside the small circle of your lamplight begins to shrink, drawing inward, becoming more intimate, more profoundly still. It's a transition that prepares the world for sleep, and you along with it. The warmth from the small cast iron stove radiates through the cabin, a gentle presence against the coolness of the late evening. You watch the flickering orange light dance through the small grate in the stove door, a miniature hearth in the heart of the Myra. Each tiny flame whispers a story, a slow dance of consumption and release, of wood turning to embers, then to ash. The air, once carrying the crisp tang of the sea, now holds a faint, comforting scent of wood smoke and the subtle sweetness of the brewing chamomile tea on the stovetop. You settle deeper into the cushions of the settee, the soft wool blanket draped over your lap a familiar weight. Chester, a warm, orange loaf, is curled at the foot of your berth, his soft, rhythmic purr a low thrum that vibrates through the very timbers of the boat. It is a sound of deep contentment, a quiet anchor in the stillness of the night. You reach out a hand and he stretches, a long, slow motion of feline grace, before settling back into his perfect circle, his tail twitching once, almost imperceptibly. Through the small porthole above the galley, you glimpse a sliver of the night sky, a deep, inky canvas beginning to prickle with the first hesitant stars. The moon, a slender crescent earlier, has now dipped below the forested headland, leaving the darkness to deepen, to become richer and more profound. The only other light is the steady glow of the oil lamp hanging from its brass hook, casting a warm, golden pool over the small folding table where your sketchbook lies open. Your hands, accustomed to the feel of rough rope and smooth wood, now hold a slender charcoal pencil. You are not actively sketching, just letting your fingers trace the cool, smooth surface of the paper. Earlier, you had been trying to capture the way the light had fallen on the water just before sunset, painting the small ripples with streaks of rose and gold. Now, the image has faded, replaced by the quiet hum of the night. The only sounds are the gentle lapping of the water against the Myra's hull, a soft, hypnotic rhythm that has become the soundtrack to your life here. It is a lullaby, a constant reminder of the ocean's proximity, its vastness, its quiet power. Occasionally, a distant hoot of an owl drifts from the forest, a mournful, beautiful call that echoes briefly before being swallowed by the silence. The wind, which had rustled the leaves on the headland earlier, has now fallen almost entirely still, leaving the air heavy and quiet. You lift your gaze from the page, letting your eyes drift around the small, familiar cabin. The varnished teak gleams softly in the lamplight, each surface reflecting a quiet warmth. The copper pots hanging above the galley catch the light, tiny points of brightness. The ceramic dishes with their small blue flowers sit neatly stacked in their custom-built cabinet, a small touch of delicate beauty in this sturdy, practical space. Each object has a place, a purpose, a story. There is a sense of deep peace here, a feeling that time itself has slowed, stretching out into long, unhurried moments. There is no urgency, no demand, no expectation. Only the quiet unfolding of the night. You close your eyes for a moment, breathing in the scent of cedar from the kindling box beside the stove, and the faint, briny scent of the sea that always seems to linger in the air, even within the boat's sheltered interior. When you open your eyes again, the porthole reveals a sky now ablaze with stars, a glittering tapestry flung across the darkness. The Milky Way, a faint, luminous band, stretches across the heavens, a breathtaking reminder of the universe's vastness. You often spend long moments simply watching the stars from the deck, wrapped in a blanket, feeling a profound sense of wonder and belonging. Here, under this sky, everything feels connected, everything in its rightful place. You pour yourself another cup of chamomile tea, its warmth seeping into your hands. The taste is soothing, a gentle floral note that calms the edges of the day. You take a sip, letting the warmth spread through you. It's a simple ritual, but one that carries a deep comfort. Your thoughts drift unbidden to the faint, fleeting light you had seen on the island earlier, just as dusk was deepening. It had been a brief, soft glow, almost like a lantern, appearing and then disappearing among the trees. You had blinked, trying to confirm what you'd seen, but the darkness had already reclaimed that part of the island. It had been too distinct to be a trick of the light, too steady for a moment. You had dismissed it then, telling yourself it was just a stray reflection, or perhaps a passing boat on the outer channel, though few boats ventured so close to the island's rocky shore. But now in the quiet intimacy of the cabin, the image returns, a small, persistent question mark at the edge of your mind. You remember Walter's quiet references, sometimes, to whoever was here before. He never elaborated, never offered details, simply a fleeting phrase that hinted at a history beyond your arrival. You wonder if the light on the island has something to do with that, a lingering echo of a past presence. Perhaps it's a memory, an old signal, or something else entirely. You had planned to ask Walter about it tomorrow, a quiet query over morning tea, watching the gulls wheel over the cove. The thought brings a small, comforting anticipation. Walter, with his deep knowledge of this place, his quiet observations, always seems to hold more stories than he tells. He has a way of knowing things without needing to be told, a wisdom born of living close to the land and the sea for a lifetime. You turn your attention back to your sketchbook, but instead of sketching, you find yourself simply looking at the blank page. The charcoal pencil feels light in your fingers. You could try to capture the stars, or the firelight, or even the feeling of quietude that fills the boat. But sometimes, simply existing in the moment, without the need to record or create, is enough. Chester stretches again, emitting a soft, sleepy yawn, his pink tongue briefly visible. He then pushes his head against your ankle, a gentle demand for attention. You reach down and stroke his soft fur, feeling the warmth of his body, the steady rhythm of his purr resuming with renewed vigor. His presence is a constant comfort, a small, warm anchor in the quiet solitude of your life here. He is a creature of instinct, of the moment, and his simple contentment is infectious. You watch the fire through the stove grate, the embers now glowing a deep, rich orange, pulsing with a slow, internal heat. The flames have subsided, leaving behind a profound warmth that permeates the cabin. It's a warmth that speaks of shelter, of safety, of being held. The silence outside is profound now, broken only by the water. Even the owls have quieted. The forest holds its breath, a vast, dark presence beyond the narrow windows of the Myra. You imagine the trees standing tall and still, their ancient roots gripping the earth, their branches reaching towards the star-filled sky. You think of the old tin with letters you have never opened, tucked away under your berth. And the rolled chart with small pencil crosses on it, also hidden away, and the name scratched faintly into the hull near the waterline, a name that is not the Myra's. These are other quiet threads, other unanswered questions that sit at the edges of your awareness. They are not urgent, not demanding, but they are there, a gentle reminder that this quiet life holds its own subtle depths. The light on the island, the faint scratches, the unopened letters, they are all part of the quiet tapestry of your life here. They are not mysteries that demand solving, but rather gentle invitations to contemplation, to a deeper understanding of this place, and perhaps of yourself. You decide to let the image of the light on the island linger. It is not unsettling, but rather curious. It adds a subtle layer to the familiar landscape, a whispered suggestion of something unseen, something just beyond the veil of the ordinary. It is a thread you will carry into the morning, a soft inquiry to share with Walter, a gentle curiosity that will accompany you as you drift towards sleep. The boat rocks ever so gently, a slow, almost imperceptible sway that cradles you. The warmth of the stove, the soft glow of the lamp, the rhythmic lapping of the water, Chester's steady purr, everything conspires to draw you deeper into the quietude. The stars through the porthole seem to shimmer with a secret knowledge, distant and serene. You feel the slow unfolding of the night, the peaceful turning of the hours when nothing happens, and that is exactly as it should be. The world outside narrows, its edges softening, blurring. The quiet question of the light on the island settles, a soft, unanswered thought, a gentle promise of tomorrow's conversation. The darkness of deep night has settled over the cove, a heavy, velvet blanket muffling the world. It's a stillness that doesn't feel empty, but rather profoundly full, as if all the day's sounds have merely drawn inward, deepening into resonant echoes. You feel it in the air, cool and moist against your skin, carrying the scent of salt and damp earth. The water in the cove has grown utterly placid, reflecting the faint, hazy glow of the moon filtering through a thin veil of fog. You watch as the last embers in the small cast iron stove glow with a soft, persistent warmth, a silent heartbeat in the heart of the Myra. The faint scent of wood smoke still lingers, a comforting presence, woven into the fabric of the cabin. The fire has been banked for the night, a thick layer of ash drawn over the remaining coals, promising warmth for the morning. You can hear the low, contented purr of Chester from his spot on the small rug beside the stove, a soft, vibrating hum that seems to merge with the gentle lap of water against the hull. The Myra herself seems to settle deeper into the water, a soft creak of wood protesting ever so slightly against the currents that are now barely perceptible. It's a living sound, this gentle settling, a whisper from the old wood, accustomed to the rhythm of the tides and the long, quiet nights. You notice the way the oil lamp, turned down to its lowest possible flicker, casts long, dancing shadows on the varnished teak walls, making the cabin feel even more intimate, a sheltered world within the vast, dark expanse outside. Your hands move slowly, deliberately, through the small rituals of preparing for sleep. You fold the wool blanket that has been draped over the back of the small folding table, smoothing out the creases with a quiet satisfaction. The fabric is soft beneath your fingertips, carrying the faint, clean scent of the sea air where it has been airing earlier in the day. Each movement is unhurried, a small act of care for the space that holds you. You gather the ceramic mug from which you drank your evening tea, its delicate blue flowers seeming to slumber in the dim light. You carry it to the small galley, running a trickle of fresh water over it from the pump, the sound a gentle gurgle in the profound quiet. The copper pots hanging above the tiny propane stove gleam faintly, catching the last of the lamp's weak light, their polished surfaces reflecting back a distorted, dreamlike image of the cabin. Chester stretches with a languid grace, his orange fur a warm blur in the shadows, then springs lightly onto the edge of your berth. He circles once, twice, a soft kneading of paws against the thick blanket before settling at the very foot, his weight a familiar and welcome pressure. You can hear the steady rhythm of his breathing, a soft, contented sigh. You sit for a moment on the edge of the berth, the cool air from the open hatch above your head, a gentle caress. You look out through the small porthole, but the world beyond is a canvas of deep grays and blacks, the fog having thickened into a soft, impenetrable curtain. The distant line of the headland is gone, swallowed by the mist, and even the familiar outline of the trees on the opposite shore has vanished. It's as if the cove itself has retreated into a private, insular pocket of stillness, held suspended between the vastness of the sea and the silence of the forest. The air inside the cabin is infused with the scent of beeswax polish, faint wood smoke, and the subtle, earthy aroma of the forest that seems to cling to your clothes even after a full day indoors. You run your hand over the smooth, cool surface of the varnished teak beside your berth, feeling the grain of the wood beneath your fingertips, a testament to the life and history of this small vessel. The Myra breathes around you, a slow, gentle expansion and contraction of air, of wood, of water. You reach for the book you've been reading, its pages still open from earlier, but your eyes don't quite focus on the words. Instead, you find yourself simply holding it, feeling the texture of the paper, the slight weight of the binding. It's a habit, this final moment with a book before sleep, a gentle closing of one world before entering another. Your gaze drifts to the small ceramic dishes with their blue flowers, stacked neatly on a shelf. They seem to hold the memory of meals shared, of quiet moments, of the small, sustaining rhythm of daily life aboard the Myra. You think of Walter, up in his stone cottage on the headland, perhaps sitting by his own banked fire, or already deep in sleep. You wonder if he, too, is aware of this profound stillness that has descended upon the cove, if he feels its weight and its peace. The quiet curiosity about the faint, fleeting light on the island returns, a soft, uninsistent thought. You still plan to ask Walter about it tomorrow, to see if he has any explanation for the brief glow that pierced the evening mist. It's a small thread, a delicate question, weaving itself into the tapestry of your thoughts, not demanding an answer now, but simply existing, waiting for the light of a new day. You rise slowly, moving with a quiet grace that matches the stillness of the cabin. You reach for the oil lamp, its flame now a tiny, golden teardrop, and with a gentle turn of the wick, you extinguish it. The cabin is plunged into near-total darkness, broken only by the faintest glimmer of moonlight filtering through the porthole, painting a silvered stripe across the floorboards. The silence deepens further, now truly profound. Your eyes adjust and you can make out the vague shapes of the cabin around you, the curve of the hull, the dark rectangles of the bookshelves, the deeper shadow of Chester at the foot of your berth. The air is cool, fresh, and utterly still. You slip beneath the thick wool blanket, the fabric cool at first, then quickly warming with the heat of your body. The narrow berth cradles you, a perfectly fitted space, secure and enclosed. You can feel the gentle, almost imperceptible sway of the Myra, a soft, rocking motion that is more sensation than movement. It's the subtle breath of the water, a deep, slow rhythm that resonates through the hull and into your very bones. Chester shifts slightly at the foot of the berth, a soft rustle of fur, then settles back into a deep, steady purr, a living warmth against your feet. His presence is a comfort, a small, vibrant core of life in the encompassing quiet. You close your eyes and the world narrows further, drawing in from the vastness of the cove to the small, dark space of the berth. The sounds of the night are now exquisitely defined. The distant, almost inaudible sigh of the sea through the channel, the whisper of air through the rigging high above, a sound like silk against silk, and the steady, rhythmic lap of water against the wooden hull, a soft, murmuring lullaby. Each sound is distinct yet harmonized, a symphony of quiet that invites you deeper into the embrace of sleep. You feel the weight of the blanket, the softness of the pillow beneath your head, the subtle pressure of Chester at your feet. The coolness of the air on your face, the warmth beneath the covers, the lingering scent of salt and wood smoke. Everything is in its place, everything is still, everything is peace. The question of the light on the island will wait for tomorrow. For now there is only this quiet drift. You settle into the narrow berth, the familiar curve of the hull a gentle embrace against your back, the heavy wool blanket, smelling faintly of sun and salt, and the lingering whisper of wood smoke, settles over you. It's a comforting weight, a soft anchor in the quiet drift of the evening. The warmth begins to spread, a slow, deep heat seeping into your muscles, relaxing the last traces of the day's gentle exertions. Your breath deepens, a quiet rhythm in the stillness. Chester, a warm, soft weight, shifts once at the foot of your berth, his purr a low rumble that vibrates through the mattress and up through your legs. It's a primal sound, a thrumming reassurance that echoes the gentle pulse of the boat on the water. You reach out a hand, finding the soft fur of his back, and he leans into your touch, a perfect, contented loaf of feline warmth. The oil lamp turned low casts a soft, amber glow, painting the varnished teak bulkheads in shades of honey and shadow. It dances with the faint light of the dying fire in the small cast-iron stove, where only a few embers now glow, a deep, pulsating orange heartbeat in the dark. The air in the cabin is still, a blend of warm wood and the faint, fresh tang of the sea that seems to seep in through every seam. Beyond the closed portholes, the cove breathes. You can hear it, the soft, ceaseless lapping of water against the Myra's wooden hull, a sound as old as time itself. It's a lullaby, a whisper, a constant, gentle reminder of the world just outside your temporary haven. A faint breeze sighs through the rigging overhead, a whisper of wind through the mast, a barely perceptible whistle that quickly fades into the greater silence. The world narrows to these sensations. The warmth, the weight, the soft sounds, the quiet breath. The lamp flickers, a tiny sigh of flame, then steadies, casting longer, softer shadows across the cabin's ceiling. You watch them, these slow, dancing shapes, until your eyelids grow heavy. The glow from the embers in the stove dims further, a final exhalation of warmth. The air grows cooler, but the blanket holds its heat, a cocoon against the night. The Myra rocks, a barely perceptible sway, a gentle cradle on the dark water. You are held, you are safe. The sounds outside the hull become softer, more distant, the lapping of the water against the wood, a soft, rhythmic whisper, a constant, gentle pulse. It becomes the sound of your own breath, deepening, slowing. The gentle rock of the boat, a rhythmic sway, a slow, steady motion. You are drifting, drifting, the warmth of the blanket, the soft weight of Chester, the low purr, a vibration, a gentle hum. It whispers through the wood, through your skin. A deep, soft hum, the hum of the boat, the hum of the night. The light from the lamp grows dim, a soft orange glow, a fading light. Shadows lengthen, stretch, soften. They blend into the dark. The cabin walls blur. The bookshelves, the copper pots, the small blue flowers on the ceramic dishes, they all soften, losing their edges, becoming part of the encroaching piece. The smell of wood smoke, faint, lingering, a memory of fire, a memory of warmth. It mingles with the salt air, the clean, crisp scent of the sea, a breath of the wild, a breath of home. The water sounds, always the water, a gentle lapping, a soft murmur, against the hull, below your berth, a lullaby. A constant, quiet song. It tells of tides, of currents, of the vast, deep ocean. It tells of the shore, of the quiet cove. Your body softens into the mattress, into the berth, into the boat. You become one with the gentle sway, one with the soft sounds, one with the deep quiet. The world outside recedes, the forest, the headland, Walter's cottage. They are there, but they are distant, unseen, unheard, only the immediate, the near, the warmth, the breath, the slow, soft rock, the memory of the day, a quiet gathering of moments. The warmth of the sun on your face as you sat on the dock, the scent of lavender and rosemary from the clay pots, the feel of the oars in your hands as you rowed the dinghy, the smooth, cool pebbles on the shore of the island. The faint, fleeting light you thought you saw, it dances at the edge of your thoughts, a small, bright spark, then it softens, fades, becomes part of the quiet drift, the taste of the simple stew, the warmth of the tea. The pages of the book turning slowly in your hands, the quiet conversation with Walter, his slow, thoughtful words, his kind eyes, the feeling of belonging, of being held, of being home. The boat breathes, a deep, slow breath. The water sighs, a soft, soft sigh. The air is still, so still. Chester's purr, a soft engine, a gentle rhythm. It slows, becomes almost imperceptible, a vibration more than a sound. It tells of contentment, of quiet trust, of deep, soft sleep. The last embers in the stove, a final, soft orange flicker. Then dark, complete dark. The lamp has gone out, the oil consumed. Only the deepest dark remains, a soft, velvety dark. The sounds grow fainter, the water, the wind, the small creaks of the wooden boat settling into the night. They are not gone, they are simply softer, more distant, part of the great, quiet symphony of sleep. You are drifting now. Drifting on the dark water, in the soft, warm berth, held by the wooden hull, held by the night, held by the quiet. A final thought, soft as a breath, brushes the edge of your mind. A memory of the light on the island, a small, curious question that floats, unhurried, into the deep calm. You will ask Walter about it tomorrow, or perhaps you will simply go and look for yourself. The thought is not urgent, not demanding, just a gentle thread, a quiet promise for the morning, and then the thought too dissolves into the deep, soft dark. You are asleep.
This is the end of today's episode. Did you listen to the whole story? Share your experience in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to The Quiet Drift. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then.